Writer's block sucks. You have an idea of what you want to write, you might even have some characters planned out, but either way, you just want to get some work done. And stupid writer's block is getting in the way of the creative process. It sucks. But not to worry, guys, I'm Elizabeth Jimenez. I'm a published author, and I have helped tons of people just like you at conventions, at author events, and even at author workshops. So not to worry, guys, I'm going to help you out. We're going to figure out what it is that's getting in the way of all the creativity, and we're going to get this all worked out. Don't worry about it. Cause number 7. You don't have enough faith in your abilities to write something good, or you have a deadline, like you have an essay due or something along those lines. And what I mean by you don't have faith in your abilities is people kind of have this idea that when they write something, it has to be perfect the first time they write it. When in reality, published authors go through like 12, 13, even 20 drafts of their writing before they're even halfway happy with what they're creating. And unfortunately, when you make such high expectations for yourself, you create writer's block. You become too afraid to make the first step or write the first sentence because you're like, oh, it's not going to be any good. When I write it, it's going to sound so amateur. It's going to sound like crap. I just can't get lost in the feeling of it. I just want it to come out good. And so my cure for this, my friends, and give me a moment to explain myself when I say this, give yourself permission to relax and understand that your work is not going to come out perfect the first time. Treat your writing at this moment as a draft. Just give yourself that permission to let go and not be perfect. And I know it's easier said than done, but I'm going to show you how I loosen myself up. And after speaking to a number of other published authors and working artists, I realized we all do the same thing and it works for all of us. So I'm going to share this with you guys, and hopefully this will help you out. Think about the mood of the work you're about to write. Think about what you want it to be. Do you want it to be something dramatic, frightening, funny? Really think about it. Really put yourself in the position of the characters you're writing about. Think about what they look like, how they move, how they speak. Try to act them out in your head. And while you do this, listen to music that you feel will be an appropriate soundtrack to your writing imagine if it were made into a movie or something. So really think about what you want people to feel when they read your story or when they read your essay. And once you find yourself really in that mindset and you're really feeling it, or at the very least enjoying the music, turn over to your notebook or your computer, set a timer for 3 to 5 minutes, and begin to free write. Now, while you're writing, don't ever stop to think. Don't ever stop writing. Just write. Lose yourself in it. Forget about punctuation. Forget about sentence structure. Just write. Write whatever's coming to your mind, any visions, anything that you were imagining while listening to the music. And a lot of times, you will find yourself beginning to write out dialogue by accident, just because you're so lost in the music and lost in the moment. And more times than not, you'll keep writing even after your timer goes off, which is a really great feeling. But you're also able to just stop right when your timer goes off, 3 to 5 minutes, okay? And you can read over what you've written. Sometimes it's going to be weird gibberish. Sometimes it's going to sound more like a poem than an actual novel or an essay. But there's a very good chance that you might write something, even a little tidbit of something interesting that you want to keep building on. So keep this in mind. This is actually a really great way to loosen yourself up and a really great way to get those creative juices flowing. You'd be really surprised what you can come up with. Common cause for writer's block number 6. You don't have an ending to your story. I know a lot of you are thinking right now, Elizabeth, I have writer's block. Of course I don't have an ending to my story. But hear me out. You'd be so surprised at how many people I've helped by giving them this bit of advice. Once you have an ending, or at least an overall idea of what your ending is going to be, you realize that now you can narrow out what events can take place in your story in order to reach that point. You understand? When you don't have an ending, you're afraid of writing things, and then you realize, whoa, I don't like where all this is leading. I just wasted my time writing for no reason. But if you have a clear idea of what your ending is going to be, I'm not saying have the scripts written out, but have a clear idea of what your ending is going to be. Now you can start off from whatever you have written already and say, okay, this is my goal right here. Only so many things can happen in my story so that that ending can actually take place. So keep this in mind. Common cause for writer's block number 5. Your story does not have a beginning. I know this sounds really weird. So I understand that most people create their stories off of an idea that's usually the climax of the story or something in the middle when the relationship's already established and the rivalries and so on and so forth is already established. If you're in a situation where you only have the middle or the ending of your story and you don't have the beginning of your story, you need to do a little detective work. And that means you need to work backwards. And I've recommended this to so many people. So listen carefully. And so I'm going to give you a really simple but easy to follow example of what I'm talking about. Let's just pretend you have a character and his name is Tom. Tom really loves Dominican culture, let's just say. And the only part of your story that you have so far is Tom is full. I know it sounds really random, but believe me, just follow along. So you're thinking, okay, Tom is full. How do you get full? You eat. So Tom ate, then he became full. Okay, we're getting somewhere. He loves Dominican culture, so he probably loves Dominican food. So he ate Dominican food and he got full. Okay. More than likely he went to a restaurant, Dominican food, Dominican restaurant. Okay, so he went to a Dominican restaurant, ate Dominican food, and got full. Alright, we're going somewhere with this. Story's happening, working backwards, good times. Next part. So where is the restaurant? Probably in a Dominican neighborhood, so that's where it is. And then the magic happens. He loved Dominican culture so much, he moved to the Dominican Republic. Oh my gosh, and he just moved in, and he's exploring his neighborhood, which is obviously Dominican because it's the Dominican Republic. He found a restaurant that he read about in the paper back when he lived in the United States. He went in, ate Dominican food, and Tom became full. Oh my gosh, we worked backwards. We now have a beginning to our story and actually came up with some very interesting details about Tom's life. And that, my friends, is how working backwards works. Thank you so much. Thank you for appreciating it. I know, it's such a great story. Common cause for writer's block number 4. You don't understand your characters as well as you think you do or as well as you should. And this happens so often. Like, just about every other person I meet, their writer's block usually comes from a lack of understanding of their characters. They haven't developed the characters as much, and they don't know what to write next, obviously because they don't have enough material to work off of because the characters are one-dimensional. So you really have to understand your characters. And so my advice for you guys who realize, wow, maybe the reason why I can't figure out what to write next is because I don't understand my characters as much, I recommend that you expose yourself to more things, more people, join clubs at school, watch more programs on more educational channels, learn about human psychology, especially if you're writing a story about mystery, and try your best to stay away from getting inspiration from existing stories, okay? That is probably one of the worst things you can do for yourself. And this leads me into my next reason for writer's block. Reason number 3, your idea has been done before or is a cliche. This is actually a really common problem for so many people, especially young writers and artists. And the reason for that is they don't have enough life experience to draw from, so they tend to draw from what they enjoy, whether it's anime, movies, Marvel Comics, whatever it may be. They tend to have a very shallow pool of ideas they can actually draw from, and they tend to create stories that emulate what they enjoy. And so they get lost in this labyrinth of ideas they can't use because the story that they kind of were inspired by already used all these ideas, so they want to stay away from those ideas, but now they're left with a really tiny amount of things they think they can use. So to stay away from getting inspiration from existing stories. I recommend that you expose yourself to more things, more people. Common cause for writer's block number two is you have a packed schedule and you're feeling a lot of stress. This is such a common problem. So here's the dilemma. You have a packed schedule. You have school, work, family, and writing is either your passion or your hobby, whatever it may be. You have a lot on your plate. And when you have a packed schedule, you can't dedicate that time to creating, not the way that you want to, not the way that your story deserves to be babied and nurtured. So it's very difficult. So this is my solution for people who are going through a lot of stress and a very packed schedule. Have a set time, at least once a week or 30 minutes a day, where you can sit down by yourself just focusing on your art, on your writing, and just get in as much as you can. Listen to music, really be a part of the universe that you're creating, and let that be your relaxation time, your time to unwind. Listen to your favorite songs or music that could be a soundtrack for your story. Either way, make it a relaxation time to unwind and to enjoy yourself, and have fun with it. So that's all 7 of the... Oh, I happened to leave out the most common cause of writer's block. I wonder why. So guys, this is not to be mean. It really, really, really isn't. This is just to help you guys, and honestly, the number 1 cause for writer's block is unfortunately laziness. I'm sorry. So give me a chance to explain. I'm an artist. I write, I draw, I do all sorts of different things. And I've met so many people who think they're hotshots coming up to me saying things like, you do manga? I do manga. You write? I write. One of these days, I want to have my own publishing company, and I'm going to publish my own story, and it's going to be like the biggest thing. So, how did you become a published author? I want to do it too. And then I explain how I became an author. I explain the hours of hard work I dedicate to my company, JU Comics, every day, how many hours I dedicate to writing, drawing on my pages, shipping out my books because I am my own company, so I ship out the merchandise you guys purchase from me, and I always get this reaction. That's a lot of work. Yeah, that's what it means to be an artist. Being an artist, being an author, being anyone creative at all means this is your passion. This is what you do day in and day out. This is what we do for a living. So if we're not dedicating ourselves to it, we're not getting things done. So if you're watching this video and you realize I watch a lot of Netflix when I should actually be working on my writing and my manuscript for my comic, yeah, you fit in the category of lazy. That's where having a nice open schedule comes in and balance comes in. So here are my recommendations for those of you who are not too good at keeping schedule, but you need to learn. If getting over this writer's block is what you want to get over, you need to follow my advice. So in reality, what you're experiencing isn't exactly writer's block. It's I have not spent enough time working on or thinking about my story to actually get enough work done on it. The more time you spend away from your writing, the less familiar you are with the story, the less likely you are to actually be thinking about it throughout your day. And when you actually sit down to write, you gotta reread everything. You're bored of doing that. You're not in the swing of things, and writing becomes very tedious. It's not fun. It doesn't flow. So here's what you guys have to do. Just like people with really, really packed schedules, you need to make at least 30 minutes a day, okay, to work on your story, to get re-familiar with the story, to already have it in your mind throughout the day. Okay, at the end of the day, I'm going to be working on my story for 30 minutes. You have to make a habit of it. You need to keep to this schedule. Eventually, it'll become something that you instinctively do every day at the same time for 30 minutes. And hopefully, in time, it'll become something that you look forward to. And once things become a habit, it becomes a part of who you are. And who knows, maybe after a few months or a few years of just working on your story casually, because you dedicated 30 minutes a day to it, you'll be able to say one day, wow, I actually finished my story. I can't believe it. And maybe at that point, you'll think about maybe self-publishing and just sharing it with people, or maybe actually submitting it to a publisher. Imagine. But you know what? Being an author isn't really everyone's goal in life. Writing might just be your hobby, and that is absolutely 100% a-okay. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it was super helpful for you guys. I upload new videos every Thursday, guys, so if you're out to become a published author, you want to learn more about the publishing industry, you want tutorials on how to make your own manga, how to write scripts, or you want to learn about the life of a published author here in the United States, please like and subscribe for more videos and author vlogs from me. But if you'd like to see artwork and updates from me every day, please follow me on social media. And please go onto sacredthemanga.com where you can read chapters of a manga for free. And until next Thursday, guys, please take care, God bless, and do not be afraid to nerd out. Don't be afraid to nerd! Oh my gosh. Bye, guys.